As promised, I'm back for Q&A part 2. These are from the same group of questions that I asked you guys for, I don't know, a couple weeks ago now on Instagram. One of these days, I'll figure out a better way because I know that some of y'all are not on Instagram, and so you don't get to submit questions that way. I'll figure out a better way in the future so that those of you who are not on Instagram can submit questions if you would like to. But let's just pick up kind of where we left off and get through these, because again, I really enjoy doing these. I enjoy sharing what's going on in more of like a casual way, but also just answering questions that y'all have and discussing random, sometimes, things. So, all right, I just got done eating Funyuns, and now I have Funyun breath, and I'm gonna make it worse by making it Funyun and coffee breath. It's not good. We're gonna start off with a bang, quite literally. Hail the Beast says, do you believe you should wait until marriage to be intimate with someone? The answer to that is, of course, yes. My faith and the ethic of that faith sort of stipulates that as something that is important. Even beyond that, gosh, this could be like a whole video topic, podcast episode in and of itself. There's a lot going on right now, lots of conversations being had in terms of feminism and third wave feminism, and more of this direction of like women should treat intimate relations. I don't want to use that word because we just started the video. YouTube will probably flag it and hate me. But intimate relations, they should treat it like men do and not care and not be emotionally tied. There are so many reasons outside of faith that waiting and not being flippant about those kinds of things, there's a lot of beneficial reasons to that have absolutely nothing to do with religion or faith. So there's that piece of the conversation. There's also the piece of the conversation of understanding that your worth as a woman isn't tied up in your virginity as this like crowning achievement. Chastity is a historically interesting topic to discuss. I think there's a lot to this conversation, and that brings me to a book that I read a number of months ago that I really enjoyed. I always hesitate with recommending books like this because I'm just not somebody who is ever like 100% of everything said by this person or in this book I agree with. Of course not. But when you recommend something, sometimes people will take that as you condoning every single thing this person says. Don't think that that's true. There were definitely things in the book that I was kind of like a little bit wiffle-waffly on. With all that said, with my disclaimer put out there, the book is called The Great Sex Rescue, and it's kind of a book pushing back against some of the damage done by purity culture within the Christian space, within the Christian church, and specifically, very specifically within the American Christian faith and church. Purity, ethics, and such is such an interesting and dynamic topic. I'm having a hard time with the words for this because I'm trying so hard not to like offend anybody. But the truth is that just there's something on either end that can be dangerous. There's dangerous things on both sides. Okay, so like the extreme purity culture, people that make girls and women feel like if they go a little too far or all the way, that they are now completely damaged and they're of no value or worth, and that all of their worth is tied up in their virginity. On balance, the other end of that we should just, give in to all of our carnal human desires whenever we want, and that's just perfectly natural and healthy, is certainly not true either, particularly in the way that we're trying to convince women that what we know to be true about ourselves, our emotions, our attachments, that we should be able to detach and to be intimate like men can be, where they can do that completely unattached and with whoever, whenever, whatever. It's just, not only is it completely inaccurate, arguably dangerous, very dangerous, and so much more costly to women than to men. And to me, it's a clear indication that this is not feminism. This is not protecting women. This is not supporting women. This is not encouraging women. It's very dangerous to women. And I have lots of resources and information to back that up, okay? It's not just Angie's opinion based on nothing. So, wow, I bet you didn't know we were going to go there with that question and get all into that. But that's a whole nother thing, Okay, wow. Let's whew, I might have offended people right off of the bat. I know I did. I'm certain that I just offended a bunch of people one way or the other right off the bat at the beginning of this Q&A. I would say I'm sorry, but I think that you can disagree with me. You're free to disagree with me. It's okay. I just ask people to be respectful, but you don't have to agree with me. That's okay. Somebody asked, what do I despise about back to school time? I don't know that there's anything I necessarily despise about it. I do like the freshness and newness of a new school year. I think it's fun and exciting. Selfishly, as homeschoolers, it's nice when back to school season comes around and the kids go back to school, the public school kids and the private school kids go back to school, and the homeschoolers can take over the world again. Not really, but we can go to the parks and playgrounds and museums and things like that, and it's much less crowded. So there's definitely things that I really like. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I mean, I definitely don't despise anything. Perhaps I'm giving too strong of intent to that word than you meant. There's nothing that I really despise about it. It is definitely always sad to say goodbye to the freedom of summer. Obviously, homeschooling and stuff, it takes up a ton of time. The loss of some of the, I don't even want to say free time because it's not like I'm going to get a manicure and sipping lattes. It's just more time that I have to work on other things and deal with other things going on in my life. Once we go back to school, that time gets shaved down drastically. Sophia Sarah, I believe, says, any general advice for a new mom? I'm 4 weeks in and excited but overwhelmed. I've seen lots of different things going around relating to this of, pushback against the enjoy every minute and it goes by so fast, and on balance that yes, you should try to enjoy every minute, but every minute isn't enjoyable. And it does go by fast, but it also can feel really slow when you're tired and exhausted and all of that. Know that both of those are true, I guess. Understand that both of those things can be true at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. But in terms of my actual advice, would just simply be to trust your gut. I see a lot of conversations about, not every woman has, the maternal instincts and stuff like that. I disagree, and only because I feel like perhaps we need to agree on our terms first before we say that, because we might not all have the maternal drive. There are many women who feel like maybe having kids is not, it's something that they want to do, but they don't feel overly driven to do it. They're not I just want to have babies feeling. Okay. I totally get that. Just like you have fear instincts and you have hunger instincts, you have all of these things that are built into your brain in order to keep you alive and to keep you safe and moving forward. Much the same, you have those same instincts in regards to caring for a human being. So what my advice would be is that regardless of if you were a woman who felt instant love for your baby, or you were kind of hi, squirmy, the little thing, what do I do with you? You felt awkward or strange. I would argue that a lot of the awkward feelings and strange feelings are likely from either societal things that you've internalized, perhaps things from your own childhood that have put up a little bit of a barrier there. I would do my very best, if I were you, to just trust your gut on how to parent and love and raise your child. There are going to be times that you come to a road where people will give you advice and tell you what to do and what not to do. And I think if you can be super honest with yourself, quiet all the noise, clear all the headspace, and just whoosah yourself. And this is, again, assuming that you're not dealing with postpartum depression, you're not in the baby blues phase, or God forbid, dealing with something as terrible as postpartum psychosis, okay? If we're not there, if we're just, kind of in this middle typical space, trusting your gut, quieting all that noise to just woosah and go, all right, I know how to take care of this baby, okay? If somebody dropped you on an island with that baby, you and that baby would be okay. You would be able to take care of that baby. I do think that a big part of it is speaking truth over yourself and speaking positively over yourself and your baby and your experience. The more that you trust yourself, you trust your instincts, and you lean into it, the easier it'll be. And then the more trusting you'll be and the more confident you'll be of yourself, your instincts, your decisions. It's just making little decisions every day that build your own confidence. So I'm kind of explaining all of that because I know whenever I say just Trust your gut, go with your instinct in raising your kid. Don't worry about everybody's advice. Whenever I say things like that, there's always people who, push back and say, well, not everybody has maternal instincts. My only encouragement is that I think that you probably do more than you realize. You just don't trust yourself and have the confidence. And the only way to get that is to build it by allowing yourself to make those little decisions, do the things that feel right to you, and go from there. Obviously, again, as your child grows and stuff, those decisions are going to change. There's going to be things that you as a parent don't want to have to take that thing away or have your child lose that privilege because of bad decisions they made. There's things that won't feel good in that way because they fall under the category of like doing what's best for your child, even though it hurts you to have to do that. I always use the story of me sneaking for Christmas presents, and it was the year I asked for a baby alive, and my parents got it for me, and I snuck and found it, and they told me that if I snooped at Christmas presents, they were returning it, and they did. And they returned it, and I did not get a baby alive that Christmas, and I was heartbroken. I promise you my mom was more heartbroken than I was. I promise you it pained her more to have to return that doll and not give it to me on Christmas than it did for me to not receive it. So, not every decision we make as parents is going to feel good, but there's a gut place that tells you whether it's right or wrong. And I think that gut place gets clouded by society, life experience, your own childhood that maybe has some trauma and neglect in it in some ways that can cloud that too. There's lots of different things that can cloud it, but I think if you making decisions and building the confidence, you can clear away the fog to find and trust the instincts. Hopefully that makes some kind of sense. I'm still sick, okay? I'm still going to use the excuse that I'm sick and brain fogged, and that's why I can't really... Every answer to every question has been like a 4-minute answer. I'm going to try not to keep doing that. I'm going to do it again because this is one that... Do you get Botox or fillers? So the answer to that is that yes, I have had those things done. I've had none of those things done before 2018. Was the first time that I tried any of that. I've gone back and forth on different things, tried things, not liked them, not done them again. With that said, here's my thoughts. Now, these thoughts could change. This is kind of how I feel about it right now. I'm very intrigued and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments because this has really got me thinking because I kind of have like two schools of thought about it. And I would just kind of love to know like where y'all land and what your thoughts are. So I was in the kitchen the other day talking to CR and I was showing in these Instagram accounts, sort of, I don't want to say expose celebrities because they always say like to be respectful and they try to be kind and they're not trying to be mean. My skincare girl, she's not an esthetician, she's a PA, she's a physician's assistant, but Skin by Blair. Blair is her name. I'll link her down below if you're around the Charlotte area. She's amazing. Also, her skincare products are wonderful. She was doing something for a time where she was showing, celebrities and saying like what she would guess that they've had done. And she caught a lot of crap for it. People were, and she's not the only person that has done that, but people kind of attacked her for doing that. Like, well, if those celebrities wanted people to know, then they'd tell you. So she kind of quit doing it. That was a couple years ago. Well, now it seems to have come back around that you have these Instagram accounts that there's some that are snarkier than others, but that attempt to kind of expose celebrities and some of these like TikTok influencers and stuff who claim to have not had anything done, but it's pretty obvious that they have. They kind of like show side by sides. I'm not even going to name any names because I know some of these people are very litigious. You can probably think of a few off the top of your head. Anyways, all of that to say, I'm very curious your thoughts because I kind of have two schools of thought on it. One is I think that people have a right to privacy. I think that you're not obligated to tell the world every time you have a procedure done of any kind, right? Whether it's a cosmetic procedure or a medical procedure, you're not obligated to tell people about that. Nobody has a right to your private information. So on one hand, I feel very much like that's kind of not anybody's business. On the other hand, I see where if you are a celebrity or if you have a platform of some kind, that you also don't want to be lying and sending out a false message. Again, I have told y'all that I've had filler and Botox. I don't go into specifics. I don't talk about it all the time. I don't share every time I go and get Botox in my forehead or something. I get questions about that stuff occasionally in videos. I've talked about it over the years here and there, but it's not obviously like a focus of my channel. It it does fall into the category of something that, this is just me, okay? In many cases, it's a rude question to ask. If I don't know, I mean, I'm from the generation that was raised with like, you don't talk to people about like money and politics. Obviously, that has changed a lot over the years. Asking people if they've had work done is not something that you would typically find as good manners. However, I do think a lot of it just depends on how you ask, your tone, the intentions of the question. So I'm not like offended that somebody would ask me that. It's not like I think like, how dare you? I've been trying to lie and make everybody think that I'm just aging so gracefully and you've caught me, and I'm not over here clutching my pearls because someone dared to ask me if I get Botox or a lip filler or something, because that would be stupid, because it's obvious that I've had those things done. But number two, I've told you that I've had them done. So it doesn't bother me that people ask. However, does that mean that I feel obligated to go into super specifics? No, not really either. I don't necessarily feel like that obligates me to explain every little detail about things like that, right? Like if I see the esthetician or try something or try a laser or a treatment or something, that I'm obligated to tell people that I've done that thing. Where that gets sticky for me on the other side is that I think what a lot of this on Instagram and stuff is born out of is a lot of these celebrities will go on to start, let's just say, skincare lines, okay? Where they try to pretend like they've used coconut oil in order to not age at all and have no lines or wrinkles and suddenly higher cheeks and fuller lips with coconut oil. Okay, it's obviously a lie, and that is problematic. So I'm just very curious where y'all land. Do you think that if somebody asks, you're obligated to answer and explain everything? I think that, to me, the happy medium is being truthful to say, yeah, I've had some things done. But that's where the obligation ends for me. I don't think you're obligated to go into details or that you have to keep a running list for people, especially over the years. You might try something once and then never do it again. It's just my thoughts. I'm just, on balance, I want to consider both sides of the coin, where for me, it becomes like a hard problem is outright lying. Particularly these celebrities like to lie about a nose job. It's very obvious when someone has had a nose job, an actual like rhinoplasty nose job. I know a lot of people who will do like filler and stuff in their noses to help get rid of humps or give it a bigger tip. I don't know, give it a bigger tip. That's all the wrong way to answer that. I think you know what I mean. I think that's called like sorry, I'm coughing. I think that's called like a liquid nose job. If you guys follow my friend Blair, who does this for a living, you can see what I'm talking about because she does post like before and afters of that kind of stuff. So I think it's called like a liquid nose job or something. Lying about that is just silliness, okay? It just makes you look silly to try to pretend like you've never had anything done when it's very obvious that you have. The only person who really looks dumb in that situation is you, the person lying. However, again, it comes back to privacy though. And my brain then circles back to like the privacy part of it. Like the ethics part of telling the truth is important, but also the privacy aspect of like, you don't owe people an explanation for everything in your life. Is it just the dynamic of platform, right? If it's just your neighbor, do you feel the same, right? Is it one ethic and one standard for people who are celebrities or have some kind of platform, and then another standard for a coworker, a neighbor, a friend from church? Or is it the same standard for both? I'm genuinely curious for you guys to weigh in the comments. Let's move on. Who knew this Q&A is getting away from me. Favorite worship group? I don't know that I have a favorite group. I have 2 Spotify playlists that I listen to, and I'm really bad because I just know the songs. I'm super bad with like band names and song names. As someone who could exist and speak for a good 24 hours in purely movie quotes, it's kind of sad that I am so bad with like music and names of bands and songs and stuff. I'm terrible with that stuff. So I couldn't necessarily give you a favorite group. I have like my Spotify playlist. Try to just go with me, okay? Michelle, I'm sorry. That was a terrible answer to that question. If I think about it, if I remember, I'll try to link my Spotify playlist down below in the description box so you two can know what I'm trying to say, that I'm incapable of saying. Somebody asked how my dad's doing. I hope life is treating him a bit kinder these days. He's doing well. It has been a complete roller coaster. Again, I don't want to like overshare his personal information, but I feel like the doctor he saw originally, like they just made a lot of mistakes. So he's kind of had to start over with a new doctor, wear a monitor again, and like try to get a better baseline and understanding. He very likely needs a pacemaker. It's just a matter of finding the right like plan in terms of medication, pacemaker, what does that all mean? Hopefully also lowering just his day-to-day stress levels in order to help his overall health. So he's doing well though. So Carla Christina asked, any wisdom on raising boys or good book recommendations? Angie, I don't know, 5 years ago even would have said like, I mean, I'm sure it's just, you just raise your kids, right? Is it any different? No, it is different. It is different. Okay. It's different. I always like to tell the story about how I would tease my sister because when Riley was a toddler and he was like all over the place and jumping off the fireplace and stuff, I would like in a sisterly way, you know, kind of like snub my nose and be like, you know, she just needs to get control of her children, you know, and, you know, kind of think like, oh, well, you know, I'm not going to let my kid do that. Even to my own sister, who I knew was a good mother, but I just, you know, you just think it's going to be different for you. And then I have boys and come to find out that jumping off furniture and going all over the place seems to be a little bit built into their DNA. Though, again, I've also been a firm believer in that it's not all gender-based because Amelia is the way that she plays, her energy level, all of that kind of stuff is much more in line with my boys than with my girls. But for the most part, my kids do tend to fall into the like, girls are a little bit calmer, the boys are a little bit wilder. I bring this question back to you, Carla Christina. Do you have any good book recommendations? I never like to I don't want to diss any books, but there are a couple of popular books about raising boys that have just not appealed to me. I don't agree with a lot of the things in them. So I certainly won't recommend those, but I'm not going to name them and disparage them, though you might be able to guess exactly what they are. I have enjoyed, in terms of like, I've enjoyed 8 Great Smarts and like the Love Languages book for kids. I also just got done reading a book called Better Decisions, Fewer Regrets by Andy Stanley that I really, really liked. And in looking for other books of his, I came across the publisher. They like put up early when a book is going to come out. Like you have to know it's there to search for it or stumble across it, which I did. It seems as though him and his wife have a parenting book that will be coming out either in later this fall or in February of next year. And I'm very anxious to read it because in reading the book, Better Decisions, Fewer Regrets, he talks about parenting a number of times and some different parenting tools and tactics that they have used that I thought, man, I wish this guy wrote a parenting book. I love this advice. Like I wish he wrote a parenting book. Come to find out, he did. So anyways, I'll link all that down below. Other than that, I don't have any specific recommendations to give to you just yet because I've got a few things simmering on the burner, and I'm always very hesitant with parenting books specifically that might promote certain ways of doing things. I'm just hesitant to recommend anything until I've fully read it and digested it. But just kind of, like I said, thinking outside the box into like 8 Great Smarts, Love Languages, and applying those. I don't know the ages of your boys, but applying those things I feel like is a good place to start, regardless of boys or girls, right? It's a good place to start. So sorry, that's not as helpful as I wanted it to be, but I'll be back with more once I complete the books. What aspects of your day-to-day life would surprise people who watch you on YouTube? I think at this point, the cat's out of the bag that my daily life is pretty boring. I don't think that anyone's under any delusions that I live an overly exciting life, okay? I remember back in 2019 when I was doing all the book stuff and I would travel a ton for brand deals and stuff. I mean, Ciara and I were laughing. I was on a plane every single month that year, if not multiple times. We did a few vacations, but also just like work trips, just different things, New York and California and just all these places, Texas, all these places, and now I don't go anywhere. So yeah, my life is far more boring to the viewer than probably it once was, but I don't think anybody's under any delusions about that. So anything that's surprising, I don't know. I think people think that I do like a full face of makeup and hair every single day, and I do not. I do my hair and makeup usually like the amount that I have on today when I'm gonna film something. Otherwise, a little bit of concealer and mascara and away we go. No one's life is perfect. We have hard days, we have good days, and all that in between, but my life is not very exciting, unfortunately, for you guys who watch it on YouTube. When do you plan on letting your children have phones? Well, our oldest two, who are almost 14 and 15, almost 16, I don't know, it was probably 6 months ago or so, we got them Gab phones. Those are phones that do phone calls and text messages. They can take pictures, but there's no social media, there's no internet on those. I know that this is like such a controversial thing, so I feel like, however, I stand firmly by the fact that the research is very, very clear. The longer you can wait to give your kids phones and access to social media like that, the better. We have pretty hard and fast rules about that, but obviously as your kids start to drive and stuff, I mean, I had a cell phone, I had a pager too. Look at how old I am. I had a pager, which, I mean, without a cell phone, what good did that do me? No one really knows, but I felt cool. So I had a pager and a cell phone to be able to make phone calls, and that's what my kids have, because that's all that you really need is, am I dropping you off somewhere, or, you know, as you're starting to drive and things like that. Obviously we want our kids to have a phone, and something that we can also, you know, be able to track them, know where they are. We don't want something to happen to them and no one knows where they are. It's a good thing to have that. But it's just the internet, social media aspect of it. But, you know, I will say one of the benefits of doing what I do for a living is that my children have seen, especially my older ones, have seen very clearly some of the very negative things that come with being online and social media and sharing online. So I think it's given them a bit of a clearer picture for what that really is, and some of the bad stuff that comes with it. Does it all get to be a bit much sometimes and make you crave just a day off from being a mom? Carrie's Drennan, I think that's how you say it, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think any mom who, I'm not gonna call, look, maybe there are moms out there who never feel that way. I think that you're probably not being super honest if you say that, but maybe there are moms who just truly have never felt that. That's not me. I have definitely felt that and do feel that, and so again, my husband and I try to respect that for each other and giving each other those breaks and those, you know, abilities to, I mean, even just running errands, right, alone. It's not often that I get to like go off on a trip or go do something like that with a girlfriend or whatever, but it is nice that as our kids get older and, you know, we've got older ones that can babysit and stuff like that, so it does make it a little bit easier. So I would just say, if you're kind of in the throes of littles, just hang in there. Hang in there. Your day will come. If you can afford someone that you trust to watch your kids, if you can afford to pay a trusted person to watch your kids, then definitely do that to give yourself those breaks. But if that's not in your budget or whatever your situation is, it's not doable, just hang in there, because you'll get there. The time will come. It can feel like a long ways away, but it will come. You can only keep one type of animal. Which one do you keep? Oh my gosh, that's a cruel question. Jay Golden 70, that's me. If you're making me be super cutthroat, then I'm gonna say I keep the chickens, because the chickens give us eggs. So they kind of have a dual purpose. Now, yes, technically we could keep goats and then try to breed them and get some milk out of them, though nobody in my house really likes goat's milk. So the llamas, they don't give any milk, and I don't know how to spin their fibers into anything. So chickens is my answer. Fave at home nail polish. Ooh, I just painted my nails last night, and I was actually gonna share with you guys. I will link it because I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head. I do like, of course, a lot of the colors that you get from like Essie and OPI. I can't remember the name of it, but it's, I can envision the bottle in my mind. It's a very particular type of nail polish that I have just found to be the best. There's two. Okay, actually, I'm lying. There's two types of nail polish. One I get from Target, and one, Deborah Lipman, that's the name of the second one that I got at Nordstrom. And I really like those, this is gonna sound weird, the brushes, the way that they disperse the polish. It makes it very easy to paint your nails. And also, I feel like the polish, it just goes on so smooth and it stays really well. I'll link a few of my favorite polishy things below, because I have a couple of products I put on top that I feel like really help too, because I always do my nails at home. I just realized, I mean, we've been here for 2 years now and I haven't had a manicure in over 2 years. If you had to have 20 kids or 20 dogs, which would you choose? Am I in the same house? Because I mean, if I had 20, I mean, obviously my choice is 20 kids, but in the same house, I would have to choose dogs, because I don't have the space for 20 kids, and the dogs, I could make them sleep outside, right? You know, they could all just pile in the living room on the floor. You can't really do that with kids. So I guess I guess kids if I get to have a bigger house, dogs if I to stay put, you know? Kylie asks, are you gonna get another arrow tattoo to represent Benjamin? Yes, yes. This is one of those things that I keep forgetting that I haven't done it yet. And then I'm like, oh, well, I gotta find a place. But here's the thing. So if anyone has any recommendations, I would love them, because I have really fallen in love with the fine line tattoos, like the fine single line tattoos. So much so that I've actually considered, my sister and my husband have both told me that this is an insane plan and not to do it. But I've considered having this tattoo removed so that I can have a whole new one done for the kids that is that fine line tattoo. I found people that do this kind of incredible artwork. It is artwork in California, in Florida. I have yet to find anybody anywhere near me that truly does the very, very small fine line tattoos. So if anybody knows anyone in Georgia, in South Carolina, North Carolina, these are all drivable places for me. I'm kind of hesitating because I feel like, well, I don't want to go add another arrow if I'm going to have them removed and redone, but I'm probably not going to have them removed. So I should just go to any old, because I mean, I could just go to any old tattoo parlor and get the other arrow added. And that's probably what I should just do. What's the oil you use for hair growth? I can't find the correct video. I'll link the product. I'm not sure if you're talking about that stuff that I get from Beauty Pie that you put the little ampules in your hair. If you're talking about that product, I'll link that. And then there's like a product that I spray that helps, like, I mean, it's supposed to help with hair growth and volume and stuff, and I've used it for years. It's an Orbe product that I really love. So I'll link both of those. I assume that's what you mean. The one that's from Beauty Pie, it's not an oil. You could put it in your hair. I could put it in my hair right now, give it a second, and then you wouldn't even know that it was there because you just put it on your scalp and it doesn't leave your scalp like oily and stuff. So I love that product. What are your plans for the kitchen area? I love watching all of your projects. Thank you, Danielle. My kitchen plans are still evolving. They've changed a little bit since I did that video. It's one of those things that I'm so scared to screw it up that I keep just hesitating. You know, I'm just terrified that I'm gonna ruin it. I'm a little bit torn, and so I decided to focus on bedrooms for right now because I wanted everyone's personal spaces, all the bedroom spaces, to be done and everybody to have like their little sanctuary before I move on to the kitchen. So I'm working on kids' bedrooms right now. How do you feel safe about sending kids to camps? #MomFear. I want to be super clear here that I'm absolutely in agreement on the same kind of way about sending kids to camps. So I am very weird about who I entrust my kids with. There's lots of reasons for that. I feel like some of those are pretty obvious. I won't go into all of that, so I'm absolutely the same way. Part of the reason that I felt comfortable sending the boys to the summer camp they went to is because it's at the same place where they go for Taekwondo. We know the instructors really well. We trust them. I mean, that's it. We trust the instructors. It's small. We knew the boys would be well taken care of, and they're old enough to talk to us, tell us anything. That's always been a big thing for me, is the age and ability of my children to talk to me and tell me about things. I'm uncomfortable leaving my children with strangers before they're even old enough to be able to tell me if something happens to them. So summer camp can be a hard one. My girls, the oldest two, went to a sleepaway camp. Again, part of the reason I felt comfortable was that this is a church camp for the church that our best friends go to. They were going specifically with a group of 3 other girls. They were rooming together, just them, so there wasn't going to be anybody else with them but just them. My girls are old enough, they had their cell phones with them, and the camp was local, so I could come get them if we needed anything. There was a great deal of supervision at the camp, though it wasn't perfect. There were definitely some things that went wrong in terms of like camp planning and all of that. I trusted the girls that my girls were with and their ability to deal with things as they happen. You're not going to get any kind of crap from me about being hesitant, you know, for camps and summer camps and stuff like that, especially the younger my kids are. So, you know, every parent has to make decisions like risk assessments for their kids, and there's just some things that I'm just not gonna take a chance on. Can't protect them from everything always, but I try to make good decisions. I try to make informed decisions, educated decisions. Do you ever wake up and just feel overwhelmed before you've even gotten out of bed? Yeah, especially when I'm sick. Just had this conversation with my sister the other day about how I think part of it is like a little bit triggering for me from my hyperemesis with the twins. But when I am sick and I feel like I can't function well or to my normal ability, it really messes with my head and I get like depressed very quickly. Like I said, I think it's just kind of like a past trigger from hyperemesis and being so sick when I'm pregnant. But yeah, definitely, especially if I don't feel good, my eyes open and I'm like, I don't want to adult today. Oh man, so many good questions. Again, I wish I could keep going. I'll probably just hang on to some of these for the next Q&A because there's so many other good ones that I really want to answer. Good ones here. Okay, so that's going to be it for today's Q&A. I didn't even get to nearly as many questions this time because I answered so long-windedly. For that, I apologize, but also I can't help it. Sometimes I just got a lot to say, and also sometimes I just feel like I gotta CYA, It's partially wanting to cover my butt, but it's also partially wanting to make sure that I'm explaining myself so that you don't feel like I'm trying to offend you on purpose, Like, we don't always have to agree. I try to share my opinion, though, in a way that is like, at least kind of explain where I'm coming from with it. Because there's a lot of times there's just more to an answer than a simple yes or no, whatever. So that's it for this Q&A, you guys. I'm having lots of computer and audio problems, so I'm gonna go ahead and apologize now if this was no bueno in those departments. We're here, we're at the end. Ta-da! That's it for today, you guys, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.